Hi guys, thank you very much for seeing me. Polina here, talking to you about September. Beautiful Mexico, beautiful sunny day today. So if you'd like to know more about me, if you'd like to know more about my channel, if you'd like to get more bonus features that are all available on Patreon, if you'd like to know what's happening this month for your sign and everything like that, it is all in the caption section below. Thank you very much for bearing with me last few months. Been a little bit upside down, but here it is. It is all in the caption section below. So thank you very much, enjoy, and I hope that this is interesting for you. So basically, Virgo this month is about getting things right. You know, Virgo has different tints during different years. This is a particularly good year to really inform yourself on what is the worth. And of course, there are lots of people that don't want to see themselves. They don't want to see what they're fighting for, what they're doing anything for, like where they are in life. They don't really want to understand how it all stands within themselves. And of course, that's where people get aggressive. That's where people get addicted. That's where people get strange and sensual and emotional and fiery. And perhaps not a lot of it is true. Simply out of treason for oneself, treason for one's worth, and treason for one's work. Sometimes we don't want to see what is inside the cupboards. We don't want to see what's inside our bowels. We don't want to see what's inside ourselves and our hearts. We would rather point a finger at something else that perhaps feels like it is making us angry or sad. So one of the loveliest things about this particular month is that everything is open here. There is nobody necessarily standing in front of the door or like trying to kick you off your path. Like nobody's trying to sway you out of where you actually meant to be, except for you perhaps. There is nothing particularly preventing you from connecting to that person if that person is connectable for you. There's probably nothing like you in the world for somebody or something. We have a very beautiful, emotional, eternal feeling Libra month coming up. So by the end of September, we all kind of see who you are and what you hold. And each person, you know, it doesn't matter where you're from or what you do, each person has a gem within them. Each person has something very exciting to share and show. Everybody's got something very interesting, maybe even very possessing about them and very curious about who they are. And this is all going to come together and make itself whole by the end of the month. Unfortunately, we still don't believe ourselves. You've come out of August, perhaps you still don't have the heart of a lion. Maybe you still don't quite know where you fit in. Maybe you're still questioning your friends. You still have trust issues. You just don't feel strong enough, and perhaps arrogance has replaced your strength. So by the end of August, we already had to see that, you know, everything is love, and to a degree, like we just all are as we are, and it is what it is, and kumbaya, or on some level, this is what it's gonna be, this is fine, and however you are is fine. There is a very beautiful time here to call it quits on conflict. We are still right now in August, the 8th month numerologically actually, and there's an eternal energy, there's an eternal start, eternal finish. So we can actually have a lot to do with other people, maybe in a much better way if we just call it quits. Call it quits on chasing someone who's not yours, calling quits on trying to be someone who's not you, calling quits on making sense of things that shouldn't be made sense of. Just call it quits and look at the ordinary, the practical, and the true. So for example, how you get up in the morning, what time you get out of bed, how are you feeling? Are you feeling groggy? Are you feeling unexcited? Do you feel some kind of like stinging or pinging inside? Do you feel like dirty or uncomfortable? And sometimes there's like some kind of like a very disgusting feeling that people can suddenly have surface about themselves and who they are in Virgo, because Virgo really pushes out the obvious. For example, rashes and infections, you know, they can kind of sort of come through and let you know what lurks beneath. What lurks beneath? One of the most important things I trust and have learned about since an early age is detoxification. Decalcification of your pineal gland, decongestion of your body, and making sure that you don't ingest more than you need. I mean, here we are. It's one of the simplest things in the world. Detoxification, parasite cleanses, you know, taking care of yourself, making sure that your gut bacteria is in good order, making sure that you're not clad with material that you don't need. Making sure that you sleep well, making sure that you're not watching TV too much. You know, it's really basic stuff here right now, you guys. making sure that you are not feeling amiss, or you're not feeling a mess, because some part of you is still kind of like sensitive to things that it shouldn't be sensitive to. And maybe some part of you feels very personal, very primal, very intense about certain things that are not actually about you at all. Maybe it's just a chemical imbalance that you might have inside. Okay, so for some people it is about what's indoors, like for example, hypoallergenic furniture, maybe having a different type of balance in your heart, you know, in your family, maybe having a very, very different way that you deliver something, that you help each other out with, maybe a very different task managing sort of situation. And this is on any level. So this could be like, say, cleansing your system, or helping your mom at home, or helping your friends, or looking at your task managing, having a look at your books, you know, having a look at your accounts, everything like that, tidying up, sprucing up, and making sure that it's not stale as well, because Virgo this month can be fun. It's not just fun, it's actually ecstatic. So the point here is that usually, like, I've seen many, many months of Virgo that have been very, very polarity based. They've been very, very strong. They've been very grueling, very harsh energies. This particular year, in a pig year, Virgo feels like it's smiling to you. It wants to play. It feels like, say, for example, learning about the best antibacterial cleansers is fun. Learning about hypoallergenic materials is great. Looking after your form is fantastic. Looking after your heart is great. Like, there is something that is perfect and that is kind of like beautiful, with Venus actually going through Virgo this month as well, about looking after yourself and saying things how they are and working out the knots. If you can, please look at the knots that you know you have to look at. So for example, ancient issues, ancient territorial issues. Maybe you've got hereditary situations at home. For example, you've got X amount of issues with people that repeat in your life. Maybe you've got, for example, escalation with people that has been perpetuating on your mother's side, for example, or like, say, you have a certainty about you that perhaps is getting you nowhere. Maybe you are drudgerous. Maybe you use the wrong kind of temper for the wrong kind of situations. Maybe you hurt people or yourself. Maybe there is some kind of a issue of insignificance. Maybe there's a perpetual issue of something that keeps on coming back. But the world will not wait. You can take time here. Maybe you can work out an issue or get the right type of medicine for your condition, or work out your trauma pretty well. Any kind of knots in your system, even work issues or anything with your health, you can really work it out. Endocrine system is still very much, how can I say, coming together during this time, I believe, the global endocrine system. But the thing here that I believe is also kind of like not quite good is spending too much time on it and getting a little bit too philosophical about things. This is where fun comes to town. So basically here we have a very beautiful Chiron and Aries, really like putting that spring in our step and asking us to no longer wallow in things. And unless you are really not prepared to make a move and make a change and sparkle, because it's a very sparkly Virgo during this month, I suggest not getting carried away with trying to get things right and untying the knots. If you kind of like see that it's not very easy for you right now, and perhaps it'll take you many days, many hours, or just like many even lifetimes to untie something for yourself, Virgo is asking us this month to make things fun, to keep things light, and to get things full, you know, to help them be allowed, you know, out loud and free. One of the greatest things that I believe this month offers is actually communion, and also communication about things and helping each other within just one day, solving a whole life story, or within just 1 or 2 hours, getting the best result that you've ever had. So the best I've ever had, this is the best I've ever had, or like this is the best I've ever felt, or the best I've ever seen. The best, that's the kind of like overall feeling here, because Virgo is kindly and secretly maybe looking for perfection more than ever during this time. And by the end of this month, in September, of course, with Libra, really fishing out what is eternal, what is to stay, and what are these places that are for keeps, and what are these people that are going to fill these places as well. So new demographics coming out of the woodworks, old demographics coming together in a better way, and understanding, I understand also now better as well, my own demographic, and what is that whole demographic thing anyway. class, culture, system, gender, race, spirituality, everything like that, and also communion with people and communion with source, and all these different dimensions in which we don't even perhaps believe we still navigate, are just all about demographical misalignment that misalignment that has created itself through us having a very brutal system here on Earth, and not really understanding the different connection points, the different scales and frequencies, the different colors, or the different spectrums of demographical needs and demographical wants, and also just demographical beingness. And this is where basically a lot of things truly end. I mean, if you crack your demographic, and I'm sorry if this is a bit sterile and strange to talk about, since our world doesn't really allow us many questions like that. You crack your demographic, you crack your culture, you crack your heritage, you crack where you are and how you are. And as a continuum, and I've been talking about this for a long time, as a continuum of many people, who are you? So not just as the individual, though we still kind of playing within the realm of individuality up until October. I believe that demographical needs and demographical wants and cultural bias also, it's not about race and color at all. It's more about culture, and culture comes in many tribes, maybe like even minute tribes, many different ways, many different waves, many different equivalents as well. So there is a shamanic culture, you know, that nobody really understands or talks about, you know, unless it's very, very kind of like reptilian, I suppose, you know, the way people look at shamanism, and it's very biased and very basic. Or maybe, for example, the culture of truth, the culture of the visionary, the culture of the artist, you know, the culture of the home creator, you know, homemaker, the culture of anything. Also, all these different small nuances of culture are very much interesting to explore. I mean, if you're still asking questions about why are you not matched to this person, why can you not walk through this door, why does this like never fully have a hold on you, like why does something not happen in your life no matter how much you try and how hard you try, maybe it's not actually really about you as an individual. So stepping outside of the ego and no longer asking why not for me, it's more just understanding demographic, culture, class, connection points, and different energetic nuances that people fall into. And I'm not telling you this is about separation, it's just about diversity actually, and also not being afraid of it. So we're not all just the same human being, and just because somebody can speak well doesn't mean that another person should also be a great speaker, you know, because they might have a different gift. Maybe whoever's the greatest writer may not necessarily be a greatest speaker, and whoever's the greatest speaker may not be necessarily a greatest dancer, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying is we all have our places and we all have our uniqueness, and a certain level of individuality as well that is not actually individual to us at all. We are all a combination, a concoction of all these different vibrations. We also need to understand that there is no jealousy and there is no comparison, because everybody's come out of their lineage in a certain way. Everybody's been in a smorgasbord of experience that the modern world has become in a very, very unique kind of way. And it's not about being biased here. It's just about understanding who you are and where you are from. And unfortunately, I'm still seeing people pointing fingers and getting really personal about things that are not actually up to us. So like there are certain types of people that are just not able to fill a certain role, and there's lots of other roles available for them, but they don't believe that these roles are possible. So here's where I suggest, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for the one, if you're looking for love, if you're looking for anything, if you're looking for anything, you know, in life, if you're looking for exposure, if you're looking for any type of thing, please consider why you're looking in those places, and also why you don't believe that there are certain roles, certain faces, certain individuals, certain jobs, certain experiences that are already available for you. They're open wide. It's just about you recognizing who you are, and perhaps also who you aren't able to be, and that's okay. So basically here the doors are plenty, but the more doors sometimes you close, the many more doors you will open, and most of these are getting more and more distilled and more correct. So nature, the collective, one another, we're all becoming more and more sensitive to each other's requirements, and each other's personal, private, demographical, genetic needs. And this is not truly about culture as a whole. This is also actually about simple lives and simple dreams, and why you are maybe knocking on these doors that are not ever going to open for you, and how come you cannot ever see who you are. Well, simply because we've all been blinded by a mismatch of representation for such a long time. We can never really fully make ourselves out sometimes until it's too late, you know. And thus, please consider time, compassion, nature of your reality, the nature of your truth, you know, like how you're spending all of these things. How are you taking yourself maybe for granted, and how are you maybe taking yourself to places where you're not meant to be? You know, so the thing here is that you don't have to be a cultural phenomenon here. You know, you don't have to completely like beat your drum and say, you know, like for the Irish or like for the Jewish. You know, it's not truly all about that. It's more like about because you can't tell who you are. You sometimes might not be able to walk through a certain door, and sometimes it's not very easy to adapt and get things right. So if you are looking for something, if you're looking for a mate, okay, if you're looking for a partner, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for an opportunity, and to no avail, you're looking for understanding, please don't. Make sure that you're doing what you're doing and that which is right for you, and also how to understand whether or not what you're doing is organic for you. Can you do it with your eyes closed? You know, could you always have done it? Is there something that is just biologically, naturally yours? Are there certain gifts that you're carrying that are hereditary? Are there certain people in your family that also have those gifts? And these are perhaps, boring things, like get to the point, Polina. But the thing here is that without these wake-up calls and understanding yourself as a part of a global movement or global motion or like a global wave, what are you going to do? The point here is not to also obstruct other people's paths, and not to any longer think like that there is some kind of competition. Every person on this planet belongs on this planet. Okay, everybody here really belongs here and has a certain type of capacity for certain things. And each person is an answer to many prayers. And without a doubt, there is certainty for everybody here. And there is a certain path which is very, very unique and very, very holy and very wholesome. But the more we fight our souls, like the more we fight what is instinctively, naturally ours, the less time sometimes we have for truth. And what is that truth? Where does it live? It lives in the heart, and it's something that people call peace. But it also is merging with the divine. And this basically means, I mean, if you're interested, you can ask me about this further, but like merging via the website, merging with the divine basically means when you don't represent anything anymore, when you're not bashing a drum anymore, you know, when you're not trying to give people a certain type of taste of you or of what you know, what you do, is basically because you kind of are in it, and it kind of drives you. So this is where you just naturally are driven by source. And that sometimes is very, very weird to imagine, but it's almost like as if your full heart is open and you're driven in a sense, or you are taken, you're driven by your ancestral waves. So what I mean is like all these people that have done this before you in the many, many centuries that it took to generate your creation, you know, like all of these generations of people, all of these different experiences and all these different expanding situations that it took to pray you into existence. So that's a very, very interesting idea. Also the phenomena of creation of life, yeah, it's a very beautiful time, very beautiful month to create a life. It's a very, very fulfilling and beautiful time to create space for another being to be born here, as long as you, of course, are happy and, you know, welcoming, you're feeling welcome on this planet as well, and you're feeling fine, and you're not stressed out, and you're not questioning who you are. And all of those people that are questioning who they are, and this might come through in very, very interesting bouts of like energetic or emotional Tourette's, like why is this soap mixed with ammonia? Why is this bread with gluten? You know, like why do they have this over there? Why do they have that? You know, all of these like intense phenomena that are taking place where people are arguing very, in the end, pathetic things. You know, why this is happening is because basically we are not entirely connected to our souls yet, perhaps on some level, and we're trying to work out the beef, you know, work out the beef with another person that perhaps doesn't even exist. One of the greatest things that I believe in your life and your heart, especially after the development of devotional Leo, which is the heart center for us all, is truth. What feels true? What is the right thing to do? Like, what are the right things, okay, truth and the feeling of no longer having to hide. Oh, that's the truth. That is the psychic truth of my time, or like this is the psychic truth of my timeline. These are the particular truths that I have in my heart, or I believe this, and this is true. We have a beautiful awakening of the senses, also sentimentality and understanding the full value and quality of certain things, and also perhaps the quality of energy as well in ourselves and certain people. So we are becoming a little bit more awake to the worth and the feeling of wisdom and everything. The most anticipated change is in August end. Yeah, okay. We will never see certain things again. I believe that we have to realize where we are paradoxical to ourselves, where we are, for example, disassembled, or where we're giving ourselves for nothing. Also, I think that we need to understand where we have parasites in our lives, not just internally in our bodies, but also, yeah, that as well. People that are just not required, and we are sort of like killing time. We're trying to find somebody who fills the void without having any kind of communal, cultural, connective truth without or with that person. So what I mean is where you have people or situations or any kind of parasitic even information, such as Facebook, such as the media, you know, that you don't really have to have. So this is not like a cry against globalization, this whole video. This is more like acceptance and the joy of just being who we are, you know, and not having to perhaps cloud ourselves, cloud our time, cloud our experiences with things that are just not worthy of our time. And you have to also understand predators and prey. Any kind of behavior where you don't really know what to do, so you allow another person to take advantage of you. Nobody should really be that disadvantaged by now. Like, people should by now understand that there's always a door. There's always going to be a way through, and there's going to be people, there's going to be communities, there's going to be centers, there's going to be holy people that are going to welcome you in. And the point here is not to disguise these opportunities because you think you're strong, or you think you are worth more. Like, I feel that if there is a door, and if there is some kind of an opening for you, then disguising opportunities is not right. And there should be a walking through. One of the best things that I've ever had, that I've ever really understood during this time also already, as we are in Virgo month, is that nutrients, you know, power you, okay? Nutrients power you. Also, what you ingest, who you're talking to, you know? And how much time you spend on anything really has the most amazing way to show you the full outcome of your world. Stress has a very interesting way of disfiguring your life, and it's not even because you're constantly stressed, it's because you don't have anything to take that stress off. And also when we're talking about like water, you know, clean water, perhaps fluids, you know, taking care of yourself, taking care of your system, being available for fun, being available for things that feel right. I mean, that really changes your life. I mean, simple steps in Virgo, by choosing a few simple sequences that might stay for a long time, because Virgo imprints, just choosing a few simple sequences could actually change your life. And I'm not one to really like tell you too much about, I suppose, like carbs and, you know, meats and proteins and all of those things. Like, I don't really need to be that person. Not right now anyway. If you have questions, please ask. But the thing here is that, yeah, on a level, these are very interesting topics. You know, like, how many different things like does a person need during the day, and what are those things doing inside their body? It's like, what is the value of different nutrients? What is the quantity of water one should be drinking a day? How many hours of sleep should you have in your particular age group, demographic, and background, you know, every day? Like, what is your quantum self? And what is that quantum self? Sometimes, you know, really truly, it's not about being, sometimes it is, but it's not really about being the best of the best. It's not really about being the best dancer or like the greatest politician or, you know, the biggest brain. It's not truly all about that. It's actually truly about being your best self. And sometimes it just requires some rest. You know, some of us just require, you know, carbs. You know, some of us require extra protein. You know, some of us require certain things. And that's fine. That's fine. And this isn't about trying to make it better. This is just basically calling things what they are and letting things be what they are as well. letting the world be what it is, letting the body want for things that it wants for. And after you kind of like figure out the most basic things, like starting with your flesh, you know, with your job, with your processes, with how you keep your money, with how you spend your time, with what you're doing every day, what time you wake up in the morning, and what are the things that you put into your day, when you clean any messes, and I hope you don't have many, as Gemini and Taurus were like better times to spend doing these things. When you have not those messes, I believe that you will suddenly start to shine and sparkle. And if you don't really feel like you have the time, the incentive, or the the idea to cleanse or to really sort yourself out during this time, wake up. You know, you could be missing the point. So what I'm saying here is that the truth here is not just in being chosen in October, or to have more power, or to have more quantum during Scorpio eventually. That's not where I'm going with this. This is not just about, like, for example, getting your business across to people. It's not just about like buying the best house. Though these are, you know, ideas that are floating around in the air. This is not just about these practical kind of like landmarks in your life. This is more just about you and how sparkly and shiny are you. How are you feeling? What is your time providing you? What is the golden mean for your age? What are you feeling? What are you also fearing? And try to expand your brain away from social media, away from ongoing bickering and stuff, you know, away from culture that is just a cosmetic band-aid over a cultureless civilization. Okay, so like we're talking like Western culture, like, you know, really castrating many cultures in order to create this kind of, it's not even Western civilization truly, it's just this like murmur of energy that doesn't have a heart. And I believe that if you really associate with you, maybe, and your predecessors, and you associate with how you are, and the natural talents that were given to you by your parents, okay, and the natural things that you know how to do that are perhaps culturally, demographically, emotionally, or even spiritually connected to you, and these are not fads. This is not like the boy at school played guitar and I started playing guitar. This is not like that. This is more like where you truly belong as a unity of all of that which happened to create you. So it's like cause and effect a little bit, yeah? So like how many people did it take to create you? Like how many generations did it take to create you? What have your ancestors seen and what have they been through in order to help you be here? And that's the thing also, is to commemorate nature, understand life, and realize it cycles and all, okay? It cycles. One of the greatest times to ask, what am I doing? One of the greatest times to say, okay, so like say my age, what is my age? You know, like say for me, I'm turning 34 soon, okay? So like, what is my age? Like, what is my demographic? What were my predecessors doing? You know, and how am I going about my life? What are the new norms for me and my people? And also to keep things at the same time quiet and not to like get too radical about this, you know. And it's important not to also push other people's buttons about this stuff too. So if people are not there, if people are not ready, and I'm sorry if I've pushed any buttons for you today, if people don't want to really make any change, radicalism can really kill your vibe. If you are not talking about yourself, if you're talking about especially somebody else and you're trying to push them towards an outcome or push them towards a purpose, I trust that radicalism can actually be very brutally, very horribly dealt with during a month like this. So also, yes, clean, tidy steps, keep your head down, do the best you can, and then by the end of September, I believe we're going to get drafted. Somebody's going to get drafted, somebody's going to get open, somebody's going to become an incredible part of a community, somebody's not, you know, somebody's going to drop out, you know, another person's going to start fresh. Some people here are starting fresh. You know, the whole thing about Jupiter, you know, I said earlier in a Jupiter and Sagittarius videos, is that realization comes at a price of shame. So some of us have shame, you know, they're like, oh, I can't believe I spent so much time with that person. Oh my God, I can't believe I made so much money and I blew it all. I can't believe I've tried to do this. I can't believe I tried to do that. So we have like this kind of embarrassing feeling about us, an embarrassment. And one of the reasons why this embarrassment comes is not because we are not connected to something, but because sometimes we have to feel it in order to make a change. You got to feel the feeling. Oh, that feels wrong, I feel hurt. And then that feeling is a kind of like incentive not to do that again. So some of us, yeah, feel embarrassed. You know, some of us are starting anew. We have a very beautiful opposition here between Pisces and Virgo. You know, here we have a very beautiful beginning of worlds. I mean, this is the soil where you plant the seed of your life, you know, in a sense. And on some level, yeah, as the sun goes through Virgo and crosses into Libra, so does the Earth go through Pisces and cross into Aries. So we are seeding the new Earth in a sense. Okay, so this is the equinox on the 21st, 22nd, okay? And this means to me that we have now time to try and time to maybe also assume a better, more legit, more robust sense of self and a better understanding of time also with this complete amazing trine between Uranus, Saturn, South Node, Pluto, and this incredible stellium and Virgo. So yes, it is right, and it is perfect for us all. So it feels to me that yes, I have overtalked again. I hope this has been interesting for you. If you'd like to know more about me, or if you'd like to book a reading, or if you'd like to go on Patreon, you can have a look at all the signs there. There's going to be extra information this month. I might even do a celebrity video, who knows, you know. I've got a lot of time here actually, it's fantastic. So everything is fine. Also, yes, one last thing, work and servitude. Okay, so one of the greatest things about Virgo to debunk is that, yeah, it is the house of work, 6th house. At the same time, the sign is also actually a hidden meaning. It's got a hidden meaning. It's one of the most hidden signs, the most contracted sign, Virgo. And one of the best things about the sign to remember is that it's not all what it seems. So sometimes a person's cruel inside will go out of their way outside. Sometimes a person who is very needy will want another person to be needy of them, and vice versa. So it's a very interesting sign of both dualities. So serving doesn't necessarily mean wellness. You know, is it appropriate to serve? Is it appropriate to give away so much of your time? Is it appropriate to give away so much of your heart? So please take care. Also, big causes, moralistic pursuits. Please help yourself to what you need. Okay, you don't have to be afraid. So basically here you also have to understand, maybe to some degree we all have to understand, that some of us have this moralistic idea, you know, this Gandhi or this Mother Teresa kind of stereotype. A person comes out of us that gives and doesn't know when to take. That also has to be seen as a double-edged sword. And that we don't have to include other people in our lives on such a level. And also the question of work, the question of hours that you put into your work, and why do you do it. So please wake up your heart, wake up your center, you know, your pineal gland. Perhaps great idea to research different cleansing methods and to hyper how can I say, boost your body and your mind and also your work processes during this time. Thank you very much, Polina. And if you'd like to know more about me or book reading or anything, everything's in the caption below. Have a look inside, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye. Hi, beautiful Aries. Thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you about you and your delicious month of September. Okay, so taking yourself to the right people quick. Going in and doing that thing fast. Making yourself obvious to that person now. Giving yourself up and just making it now. So I'm not telling you to sacrifice yourself as much. I'm just more telling you like to give up trying to work itself into something. I don't think that you have to work it out right now. I don't really feel that you have to kind of like possess another person to help you understand. I don't believe that you need any type of person to teach you anything right now. I don't really think that teaching you right now is the most extraordinary experience as well for another person. I believe that it's more like seeing that door and unifying with that crisp, conscious knowing that that's yours. I don't believe that you or any other person needs to try. I also don't feel that it's you or any other person's fault that things have happened a certain way. I think it's more like going beyond it and understanding how beautiful and how truly interesting and sometimes even sacrificial this time truly is, and how well you can do out of it. So basically, here are your causes. Maybe there is one cause now, or that one presence, that one thing. Here are your stories. Here is you. Here is something that's yours. And now you, by now, perhaps have to realize what it all means and how it all sits together. I hope it sits well. There is a person there for you that's not likely to understand who you are. There are going to be at least one or two people that are going to tell you, no, that's a terrible idea. But if you have the heart of a lion, as we had to manifest here during Leo in August, if you have the knowing of a Cancer and realize what is what, and if you have the truth of the Gemini, you should probably by now realize that through the sequence, you have generated more than enough to get you through, and not just through, but really with flying colors into that situation. You have more than enough. You have manifested more than enough. You have shown more than enough expertise. You have shown more than enough courage. You have shown more than enough stamina. You have shown more than enough things in order for you to give yourself that best, that top, or that just most primordial outcome. And I'm meaning here not just primordial in an old-fashioned kind of way. I mean like that which lasts and lasts. By the end of September we have Libra. Yes, that's right, 7th house. But at the same time, it's not just about you being popular, you having friends, or finding that full-blooded, full blooming relationship. I think it's actually more than that. I think it's more like trying to understand how far you've come without probably even realizing how far you've come. Realizing your adequacy. Also perhaps releasing that fear of your own inadequacy. And realizing or somehow releasing that path with the wrong kind. So like the people that take your time. The relationships or the situations that don't lead in any direction. Things that are kind of amiss. Things that are not bountiful and not binding for you. And also the types of hysteria and experiences that lead you to a high quantum state, but yet you're just a battery for somebody else's beliefs, or you're just a battery for someone else. I believe that you don't have to do that anymore. Also, battery states for other people around you are probably pretty obvious. I mean, if you really open your eyes, you might already see that, okay? When another person is but a battery, but food for another person, or when somebody else doesn't quite know where they are, who they are, unless they are in a battery state. So the thing here I feel for you guys is to just basically reconcile with that part of you, that anger or that real like primordial stuff need to really escalate things far. And sometimes some of you guys, if you live really unhealthy lifestyles and you don't have what you want and you don't like your job, sometimes you need to blow off steam. I believe you still, even though Aries can sometimes be seemingly cunning or, like a fighter or maybe seemingly unwell, that's not true. Sometimes you guys don't know where to go. And that's the thing, is like we have a lot of energy, you have a lot of color, you have a lot of vibrancy. There has to be a place for you now. And I hope that you can see the most esteemed people, the most esteemed platform, the most esteemed situation, the most high voltage plan, and the most high frequency platform for you as you are now. I'm not telling you that this is like it. I'm not telling you that this is the works. I'm just telling you that this is one of those times where you can really register who you are, what you need, where you're going, and imprint and impact your life for a very long time to come. I don't believe you sometimes as well. This is the thing. When you say, maybe it's a little bit ordinary for me, oh, those people, I'm not sure if they're looking my direction, or I'm not sure if this is what it all, is meant to be. I think that some of you guys really don't trust you if you can't yet understand what you're manifesting unless you know that you're a battery. So this is like a fine line a little bit, Sometimes you are a battery and you aren't, even for your own people. This is kind of an interesting way that the world is working these days. I believe that you might have to fish out these different situations and understand where you are actually legitimately worried and you have to be worried, and where you are kind of like fishing for reasons not to be involved or not to take care of someone else or not to be in the mix. There is part to play in everything that you're doing, but I suggest basically try to go through that brightest, biggest door. And also, please don't say sorry if you're not sorry. Don't kind of like mix and mingle with people that you don't have to see. Try to make sure that you are honest enough and clear enough and true enough to be exactly what you have to be by now, which is just a clear guide for others to follow. So one of the first, one of the best. Thank you very much, Aries. Enjoy, and I hope that by the end of September you have something big in your life. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi, beautiful, lovely, and very interestingly unlikely Taurus. Okay. So we are with you here, and you might be like the unlikely person, or like the unlikely friend, or kind of like the unlikely, just the unlikely guy. The thing here is that you are not just unlikely, you are very right on. There is this very interesting thing that sometimes in September like this happens with Taurians. They don't quite know like how to sit down, how to stand up. Where do they come in? Do they come in now or do they wait? Like, what is the strategy of it all? Do you miss a beat? How is your heart feeling? Are you feeling that your endocrine system is under siege? Is something wrong? If you are not quite well, I welcome you to take time off work, time off anything, and just detox and think it through. Pondering Taurus, yes, a lot. So the thing here basically is that you can probably see us as not who we are. There's also an idea perhaps it's not quite worth it, but it seems cheaper to do. Maybe there are people that are not quite with it, but they seem luckier or lovelier somehow. You know, maybe there is also other things happening on the forefront that are not perhaps what you want, but you kind of still walking through that door. There is an idea and a miss. I feel that some of us Taurians, people with Taurian aspects, don't quite maybe want to see certain aspects of ourselves, or we just don't want to see certain people in our life, and we're kind of like sidestepping now. But the quantum is yours. Basically, because you had a trine here, you can really plug in. I mean, this is one of the best vibes not to care so much and actually try to really plug in. Like, hey guys, what are you talking about? I want to know. Hey, what's that? What's that new shop around the corner? Maybe I want to try that. Maybe I want to try this. So basically here you want to basically become more interested in what you are interested in, instead of trying to walk into the right person, to the right situation, be right in the middle of it. You don't have to get it right. You don't have to here be of as much purpose as Aries, you guys. But what you can do probably is perfect it all anyway through just being yours. What I mean is starting to be very fresh by the end of the month. Actually, by the middle, try to be very fresh and trying to be very astounding to everybody else as to like what you're worth. Trying to be very interested and very curious and very polite about what is yours, and what are your needs, and are they covered? Is everything that you need here? Are there all the ingredients where they need to be, or is there something or somebody missing? And you have to also start to really eradicate to some degree what you don't perhaps want or what you don't mean. Also, please have a look at predators. Predators afoot, predators that are taking your time, people that are in your pocket for God knows what reason, people that are, you know, living at your house, or just giving you not what you need. And also, I believe that Taurus at the moment is vulnerable more than others, and is more likely to fall in love with the wrong kind, or is just to be kind of like brought to the slaughter a little bit if you don't really understand what you need and who you are. So you have to, because of this, be very also like pleasant and maybe passive on some level, but at the same time start to really think, what do I really require? How do I really want to live here? What do I really need for my craft? Or what do I really need for my body? And what is the shame that I may be feeling that is placing me in harm's way? So, harm's way, out of harm's way. October will bring you better. Even if you don't think that you can be better off this time, if you, like, for example, get drafted into a job but you're not quite sure, it's kind of a little bit uncomfortable and it's just a little bit uncreative, you have to basically see that October and maybe even November might bring you a lot more than you know. The thing here is basically to say no to trouble. Okay, can you say no to trouble? And saying no to doing things the hard way. And saying no thank you for people that perhaps want to take the mickey out of you and other people. And also maybe not wanting to be part of a world that is just not for you and is not fun for you anymore. So here's where you are asked to basically be a little bit of a ruler and a bit of a king in a sense, and you have to basically say what you know is true. Okay, and this I hope is not extending onto other people, but if it is, make it kind and polite. If you really don't like somebody, I mean, if you've got nothing else to do and you're just bored and you're looking at people online, you know, and you're picking at them online, sure. But if you don't like somebody, maybe say as well, but I really hope that you have better things to do than picking at other people. Though sometimes if you're feeling vulnerable, Even a person on the other side of the world might feel a threat or an interesting fight to fight. I don't believe you do or do not have fights to fight. I just feel that it's more important just to basically adjust and make sure that you're out of harm's way. One of the most important things is predatorial instincts here. Predatorial things. Are you also sometimes a predator? Are you feeling that other people are predators? I think that's a little bit of a theme right now. And also one of the things that I believe that you will perhaps get yourself during this time is honesty and truth. And maybe, understanding, maybe I walked into the job just to get the money. And these people ended up feeding on me and pushing me around. So they are not the only predator in the story. Perhaps there was cunning on my behalf as well. So it's like fishing out the cunning systems that are underneath it all. So the things that are in store also are getting formed now. And this is a little bit nerve-wracking when you think about it. We're at a very, very opportune time with this trine made with Saturn, Pluto, and South Node conjunction. So here, truly, okay, you're on the tip of a tongue for some people. You're wanted for something, but also if you're not fishing out these radical patterns, if you're not fishing out the patterns that perhaps could leave you in the dark later on or like could make things go astray, who are you now? So basically you could have a lifetime of things that don't come right if you are not able to really weed out what is and what isn't correct, but you don't have to do it alone, because I believe there's going to be another force helping you realize the truth and the value of time, or the truth and the value of where you are or how you spend your life. So it's like really like grand stuff, but I don't think that ever like a Taurus needs to worry about the ins and outs of it. I just believe that you have who you have in front of you for a reason, and I believe that you have what you have in your life for a reason. It's just very, very lucky for us all to see you thrive. And I hope that not just thrive, but with no cost involved. So servitude, trying to help another person, trying to carry someone else, I hope that is no longer part of your game. And I hope that you're not spending time or money on things that are just not to your liking. I hope that you're not spending on things that you don't even like to keep. I hope that you actually get rid of those things. And I hope that you can start to evolve into a more kind of like special, connected, and really heartfelt person that at the same time, as kind and gentle as they are, can also say no, or as kind and gentle as they are, can say yes. And that's really important for you here. So it's like retention of maybe kindness and sensitivity and love and loyalty to the world, but at the same time not being afraid to really sometimes even cause a fuss, because some of us know, like with Taurian aspects, this is a hallmark of our lives. For some people this is a hallmark of their truth, and for some others this is the beginning of a big chain of events to come. So I hope that when you are at the beginning of a big chain of events to come, that you can be grateful for those events, and also in full knowing that it was perhaps up to you to set a boundary, set a standard, and to a degree call the shots. Thank you very much, Taurus. Enjoy, and I hope that you're very careful and very kind and very sincere this month. Thanks. Bye. Hi, Gemini. Gem. Okay, so you guys, Geminis have it. So basically here you just have it, okay, as black and white. It's black on white. It's just so easy. For some of you guys, there is a definite feeling in store. There is a definite feeling and a truth. And for some others, maybe not as much. So one of the greatest things about this particular month is you might not have enough empathy. You might not have enough money, or you might not have enough time. There's something that's kind of lacking and perhaps is a little bit skimmed. But on the other hand, you have the clarity and perhaps the achievement of a generation, perhaps. Maybe you have it together so much that you can't even believe. So what I'm saying here is like genius ideas, perhaps being the window or the face into a whole demographic, becoming the face of your peers, becoming the representative, the face of a company, or becoming the voice of a nation. So here you have something very, very true and very good for you guys, if you have the guts to really call it quits on things that are wasting your time, and perhaps these are now the things you cannot concentrate on. People you cannot even remember exist. People that you don't even think about, things that you can't even imagine that you would have ever done in the past, and start to really streamline the tunnel vision. Now, I'm not saying this is like a bad thing, but sometimes it can hurt another person. Some of the time, especially as Mercury enters Virgo, you know, at the end of August here, especially if it's already entered and you're watching this now, basically this is where you really need to speak the light and be just complete. So this is where you are the perfectionist, and perfectionist not by choice but by nature, and you can tell what's up. This is this, that is that, that's the end, or this is the beginning, this is the fight, or this is the thing. And this is where we have to basically listen, but not only listen, but to understand that you're not just talking out of like selfish ideas or some kind of cocky, cocky self-representation, which sometimes you guys can color yourself with. You're actually a voice of 1,000 people. You are a voice of many. By this September, you should really truly have it sorted or packed up. Maybe you have a very good location you're about to go. Maybe you have a very good dream you're about to achieve. Maybe you may also have a very clear instinct or gut feeling about what it all means to you now. But the most annoying thing in the world is now to have to do the errands that perhaps are part of your karmic past. So for example, did you owe somebody? You know, did somebody, you know, walk into a bad situation? You have to now help them, or you have to wait. Maybe something is not quite available yet, or maybe somebody is not listening to you yet. So karmic issues are obvious now. Okay, karmic issues. For example, you ended up at this place and they said no straight away, even though your idea is the best idea. You know, you called up that guy and he said, you know, I'm not talking to you. Why? Wake up calls also. Are you here in the heart? You know, are you treating yourself with full quantum reason and full quantum passion? Perhaps do you feel exact as you are, or are you kind of like swaying between different personalities? Can you be exact? Can you be total on you? Like after your birthday especially, did you notice a change? If you have a birthday in Gemini, you know, if you have a sun in Gemini, did you notice you? Did you really want to be who you are? Did you really start to feel blessed for just being however you have become? Or do you kind of feel, you know, or is there kind of dubious energy, dubious behavior in your field? There are certain people that won't wait for you now, and there are certain stages that will not be open and available your whole life, and then there are certain things that are completely here and now. They are in the split moment, they're in a split second of time, so time does not wait for us here in Virgo. I believe that you could have very many things happen that are good and maybe not so good, and take you apart, take you away, and you think, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter, I'll try again tomorrow. Sometimes there is no tomorrow. Sometimes for some of you guys, it'll be like hot. It will be like hot chase, you know, like just tip of your tongue, just in a moment of time. A moment can change everything during this month for anybody, but especially for you guys. So what I mean is like a tiny bit of time, you know, can really change your world. A little bit of a connection point between people can really change their lives. A tiny idea can blow up into a phenomenon, and yeah, some of these are seasonal. Some of these will only last for 2 or 3 years. Some of these will just be like a one-day thing. But the thing here is that if something is just, you know, like pressing, and you're feeling it, and you kind of almost like remember what it's all meant to be, then why not start now? Why not start now? Some of us don't have the time. That's why. Some of us are working, some of us are lazy, some of us are sad, and this is where a karmic cleanse is in order. And some of us will have to lose a few ideas in order to get the old ideas right. So it's like sprucing up your past, you know, sprucing up all the edges on your present, you know, also understanding your karmic relationship with your parents, understanding your karmic relationship with your body, and so on and so forth. And that just has to be done. So some of you guys will not get it. And the reason is because you might not feel the time permits. Time, in fact, is perfect, especially during a time like this. If there is no time, there is outstanding debt. And if there is outstanding debt, please deal with your debt so that you have more time. Thank you very much. I hope that you had fun. I hope that you actually have a lot of interesting things happen. It's a very up and down, topsy-turvy time. Don't worry about what other people think. So you're basically a face of many people during this time. If there's somebody saying, oh, you got no empathy, you got no heart, but come on, but you can't do this, or like, no, it's not time, you can't wear those stockings outside, or no, don't do this to your hair, you know, please stay behind, you don't know, why are you doing this, you know, everything like this, you know, you have to basically brush off and just go for it, because some of you guys are really like at the tip of culture. And also I believe there is a new culture that's already been birthed, and you are showing it, or you are vibrating it with your being. So very, very beautiful, unneutral time, not a time to sit inside. It's not a good time to sit indoors unless you have debts. If you don't have debts, what a beautiful time to show off. And yeah, to some degree, some Geminis will get it all. So thank you very much, Gemini. Enjoy, and I can't wait to see what you do. Bye. Hi, Cancer. Cancer. Okay, Polina here talking to you about you. Okay, thank you for joining my Patreon. Hi. Okay, so the most practical and easygoing thing during this particular September is just basically match it all. Match it. Just match it all. Like, make it not a big deal. Like, match it all. You don't have to lose anything. You don't have to lose anybody. Just try to match things together. If they don't fit, that's okay. Just make sure you have a nice, smooth, chronolinear line, and you don't get out there with your thoughts and feelings. And I'm not telling you not to dream. I'm not telling you to, keep it down and be practical, but I kind of am as well. Why? Is because sometimes Cancer can become very emotional, very romantic, very unconfident also in the future because of certain things that they can do or think of during such a month. So if you are very, very enticed with other people, if you want to keep them around, telling them your story about how sad you are or how difficult life has been or whatever, this is like one of those times where things can really give way, and sometimes a crack will become a split, will become just an enormous issue. So basically, if you don't want to have issues on your path during this particular time, make sure that you go into some very, very optimistic and very clean cut and very perhaps very, very sterile even situations, just to make sure that you don't dilute your whole life and wallowing about things about just about the past. I believe that you can do much better than you're doing. Yes, I also believe that you can do many times more than you're doing, and I can feel that you can create much greater heights. And for some of us with Cancer aspects, suddenly there is a huge itch to make more. I want greater, I want better, I can do better than this, I promise I can do better than this. And yes, to a degree you could always have done better. And this is now basically the burning time of Jupiter Sag, telling us how to do it right. And on some level, with this perfectionist Virgo time, we don't really want to listen. It's like, oh my gosh, I wanted to blame it all on my culture. I wanted to blame it all on my mother. I wanted to blame it all on my whatever, lack of interest in myself, well, just anything. And then eventually you sort of like start to see you need to get it right. And I believe this is one of those times when you just need to work it out. Maybe you have to stay at home sometimes, maybe you have to go within, maybe do some errands, maybe do some working out to make sure that you are not wallowing, and especially that you're not using people as batteries. And occasionally vampiric Cancer can. So one of the greatest things about you, and I actually, as I am here a Cancer, Leo Stellium, Cancer Leo Ascendant here in Mexico. One of the greatest things about you guys is that you don't really need anybody else in a sense, because you've already kind of made it all up inside yourself. So there are parts of you that already kind of belong within yourself in a very, very neurologically advanced way. And you probably don't really need other people as much to fill in the gaps as you fill the gaps for them. You might actually enjoy the filling of gaps with people and with yourself. So I would definitely suggest scrutinize that need to fill the gaps and voids, and rather try to get things adjusted. You can spend a lot of time here talking about your mom, about your parents, doing things on your own, being a little bit ridiculed by other people for what you have come out as, and also what your heart has said in Leo. You might be very, very emotionally Puritan during this time, and you might want to do things correct, and you might want to involve many people and make them do things right. Unless you are a natural manager and you already have a managerial job, I suggest you don't try. Purification of other people, trying to make sure that they're all watching you, doing as you do, and making sure that they do what you want is very, very difficult during this time. Just make sure that you clean up your split ends, your karma. Just make sure that you get your errands right, and just make sure that you do the thing that is yours to do. So this is where Cancer has to exercise. This is where you guys have to eat what you have to eat. You know, that's good for you. And maybe here is where you have to also maybe tell yourself and other people all the good stuff, just to make sure that you get yourself connected and not condensed. Cancer is one of the worst signs for health. You know, you guys are like the worst for health sometimes, because you can harbor and you can join things that don't join. If it doesn't match, you'll want it to match, and no matter what, you'll try and make it. So make sure that you're not spending your time pointing fingers and trying to match the unmatchable, but rather have a look at you and what you now can easily very well decide and create for yourself that is very, very simple but can lift your whole life. Maybe it's a new diet plan, maybe it's a new bunch of people, maybe it's a clearer plan as to what you are doing with your life and how you're spending your time. Maybe it's a clearer plan as to like what you're making of your relationships and what you are doing here and now. That's the best thing to do. If you are not doing anything, especially, and if you have a lot of time, please make sure that you spend it constructively. And I believe most of us have something to say, Cancer people, that is perhaps a little bit beyond us, and sometimes we're trying to explain something that doesn't yet exist. So the idea of being the dreamer and kind of weaving a story here or a tale is not really as true as getting the facts straight and making sure that things sit right, and on some level disembellishing this obsession with the detail and instead going forward towards the practical ins and outs. I'm not telling you here that it's not fun. I'm actually telling you that this is more fun if you let yourself let go of things that are holding you back. And this might be dawdling, this might be procrastination, this might be laying back and not wanting to look at your issues. Greatest time during this time is to help your endocrine health, you know, get your endocrine balance together, eat right, sit straight, you know, be more maybe also aggressive about what you want and what you definitely feel is important for your life. Also the quality of your life, the quality of water, the quality of air where you live, you know, everything like that has to be really, really fine. And when you are truly fully here in the heart and you feel absolute about what you are taking in and what is, you know, coming out, you know, what kind of work and what kind of quality of life that you're generating for yourself, I feel that many, many things will come true. So this is not about not dreaming. So please don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you not to dream. I'm just telling you to keep things tight and to make sure that you're not occupied. Thank you very much, Cancer. Enjoy and make sure that you dream what you want unconsciously while you are proactive and conscious with your everyday life, and keep working on what you need to work on. Thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi, delicious, beautiful, maybe even grateful Leo. So by the end of August, you might already kind of see the picture and the full, maybe even futile nature of a human being. You might even feel evoked or provoked or emotional and driven to emotionality even. You may have already made a few more friends than usual. You might already be a little bit more esteemed than usual. You might feel more like, wait, but the party's just began, but it's not, because you're the 12th house. And this means to me that you and I alike, we have to basically tone it down a little bit now and just make space for the new. Some of us will not get it. Some of us can't yet handle it. Some of you guys, if you're still waiting to heave over the edge and really go for it, well, just stop. If you can, try to understand that the best is yet to come, and in a sense the best is over. So when you become the 12th house, you basically get to sleep all day if you like. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you that here's where you basically lay back a little bit. Maybe you become a little bit more mellow about what you thought, said and done. Maybe here you're already becoming naturally more uninterested in putting up a fight, some of you guys. Maybe it's already mellow time. Maybe it's like melodramatic a little bit, you know, what you're trying to be, what you're trying to do. And the thing here basically for you guys is to start to deliberately create within a certain type of circle or within a certain type of interest. So just basically humbly working away, humbly working out just a few things in a way to prepare yourself for a new, much larger and much greater version of you. So the previous version of you is done. It's not just done, it's kind of dusted. So there's been kind of like a total bridging of worlds for Leos, okay? And there's been kind of like affinity, like you guys kind of like being sculpted and molded, and that was that. And anything that is too robust, too strong, too big, too large, and too made, perhaps eventually has to not crumble but disintegrate a little bit, and that gives you space to grow. So I'm telling you not to have too much control over your life. Anything that you control too much may perhaps eventually come to an end or flop. You know, I'm just telling you that this is not about like making that thing now and come on you guys, like everybody buy my CDs, you know, it's not really like that. It's more like by now you need to have a very, very nice, curious maybe, and interested wavelength about you and what you have done and what other people have done, and be kind of like more basic and laid back, and maybe take it back into this Piscean 12th house situation where you don't really need to scream on top of other people to get things together. You don't really have to be there at the party to make sure you turn up. Basically, because you are now the 12th house, this gives you the dreamer's energy. So you just take a few steps back. You know, sometimes things will fall out of place. You know, sometimes, like say, if you had something planned for September, you might not be able to make it. Maybe sometimes, like the tickets you bought to that show, maybe it'll flop. Maybe you will not be able to install something, or you will not be able to fully, you know, like you feel like it's going, but no, something is kind of like going downwards, and the energy is kind of taking you back. But because you are so well equipped, and perhaps you've grown to such a beautiful Leo by the time that August came, you basically have to just worth, and that is it. Feeling of worth and understanding that you've done it. So that feeling of worth and the gentleness and emotionality that Leo would have brought, this incredible Stellium and Leo really gave you a huge push. You could have had anything you wanted to a degree. You could have really spent your time wisely. I mean, here you could have invested in many beautiful things. You could have had many people at your disposal, or many things you could have done and said. And now in September, that's that. I'm not telling you this is absolutely it, but some of these things are no longer for you. And I'm not telling you this is like a mature, you know, or like it's no longer viable, but there are certain things, certain packs that will perhaps not be as available or not be as interesting to you as they were before. Thus, a Leo has to now scale themselves down, and believe for themselves whatever they would like to believe, and be with whoever they would like to be. It's just more important to take it down and not have to be incredibly enormous about things, and give way also to other people's growths. That means giving way to other people having opportunities, you know, so like somebody else dating that person, or like many other things happening in your company that are not to do with you, or like people telling you off maybe a little bit, or people telling you that they don't want to do what you wanted to do. Just take it a notch down. Here you see the full result of where you went. So like your sun, your energy was so global and vast last couple of months, and here we have the time of your life to basically show yourself the result. If somebody says you didn't do enough, don't say no, just say okay. You know, if somebody takes money from you, okay. If something came out of your wallet, okay. If you had to pay a debt, okay. There is nothing that you really truly have to now do. There's nothing you need to radicalize. So if somebody says you owe me like from a year ago, you don't have to dispute it. It's not a time to dispute. It's more a time to just basically gently release the pressure, and understand that the more pressure you release sometimes in Virgo, the less you feel intensity later. So that intensity that sometimes, you know, keeps you awake at night, you know, that feeling of disarray perhaps will never return, because you have taken just kind of like a few steps back, very kindly, very wholesomely, in a very holy way, in a very beautiful way, Leo. So the thing here is it's not up to you all the time, okay? It's not up to you all the time. It's not up to me all the time. You know, it's not up to anybody all the time. Sometimes you have the flowering, you know, when you like the largeness, la 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 la, and sometimes you have, you know, the smallness. And one of the best things about you is sometimes you're the small person that really fits anywhere. So it's like you're the best person for lots of different things. You are like the most loved, most precious one. The contracted state of Leo sometimes is even more loved and seen than the fully expanded state. Okay, the kind, kidney, like the gentle, small state is much larger for certain people's hearts than the lion, the full maned lion state. So if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I suggest take some kind of prism for yourself. Perhaps work within a certain field that is quite small, or just do something that you can do in a very small proximity or very small capacity, and let it be that, because you need to sometimes relax. It's just like there's certain organs that can't be on full blast all the time. The endocrine system cannot be on full blast all the time. The brain cannot be on full blast all the time. The heart cannot be on full blast every day. There are certain lulls and there are certain peaks. And that was a huge, ginormous peak, and now it's more like a lull. And one of the best things for you guys is to stay yourselves and not dispute. Thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi Virgo, very, very funky Virgo. Okay, so Polina here talking to you about your month of September. So the thing here is that life sometimes gives you lemons and sometimes it gives you the perfect freaking things. Okay, so by this time you should probably already see where it's all at. So maybe there are certain people that are really perfect for you. Maybe there are certain things that are asking for you to connect to them. Maybe there are certain things that are not asking you anymore. Perhaps there are things that are just knocking at your door. They're just like placed on the table of life, and here you go making a do. I trust that you know why these things are where they are. I trust that you know why these people are suddenly more than likely to be available, and sometimes why they're not. The whole point here, Virgo, is that it's not for you to disqualify people sometimes anymore, and it's not for you to not disqualify them. Basically, it is now yours to do with as you please, and it feels to me that you need to do very well. So perfection, Stellium and Virgo here, going on this month. Perfection basically means that you have to be very, very clear and very, very, maybe even altruistic at times, because some of these things cannot be returned, and some of these people, these situations cannot be replaced. And I believe that you have what you needed. I believe that you also have what you prayed for, or what you prayed in for yourself on some level. So these are once in a lifetime ingredients. These are once in a lifetime people. These are once in a lifetime opportunity. And now love and nature and the universe just kind of looks at you and goes, okay, so we got you here. And we have you doing what? Like, what are you going to do with these things? What are you going to do with these people? How are you going to place the next steps? And here Virgo sometimes doesn't quite know what to do. If you've been waiting and waiting, this is the time. If you don't quite know when to step in and dance, now's the time. It's a beautiful time also sometimes to, knock yourself around and kind of like not seemingly find what you want, but land there eventually and finally start to trust. I think that you guys perhaps have trust issues, and maybe you don't quite yet trust the love that you have, the life that you have, or the different dimensions that you're scaling. And to some degree, I believe that some Virgos don't even trust themselves for praying in what you now have. Whoever you now have, whatever you have now, whatever is there, whoever comes to your house, like whatever's available and right is this. This is it. This is what it is. This is who it is. And that has to be okay. That has to be final. I'm not telling you here to throw things out at all that you perhaps are trying to mask your real life with. So, sometimes you have an abundance of things that life just gives you. And then you kind of like create like almost like a secondary layer or level of things that don't really work. It doesn't really work, but you kind of like sort of like make sure that you have other things, or make sure that you have other options. Some of these options are not real, and you probably know it. Some of these things are just masking your feelings, or masking your lack of gratitude or greater empathy for yourself and other people. I believe that some of you guys really do have your turn now to shine. Yeah, like where you are now. Can you imagine? Shine! Shine! And this is where Virgo does have a shining chance at many things, but some of the time, some Virgos might suddenly go to sleep. They don't want to mention things to other people. They don't want to be seen. They don't want to talk about certain things. If you really have to sort things out, stay inside, maybe do a detox, like a quick cleanse. Maybe you want to sit alone for a while. Maybe you want to play guitar. I don't know, do little things like that. Just enjoy yourself. then there will be time, and you just have to come back to that very table and those same people, those same ingredients, and haha, where you are is good. What you have is fine. And where you are in the mix between all these different souls and methods is great. And you just basically now, as a true human, have to define what are the next steps. And on some level, these are going to be bringing to you more and more of the same thing. Here's your table of ingredients. It's almost like, what are you going to make? You're going to make a ragu? You're going to make a soup? You do well, you'll get more. You don't want to work with this? You'll have to start a new life. And I'm not telling you this is bad. Some of us did actually start a new life on purpose. And some of us won't. So this is it. This is the ragu. You know, you need to make it now. Maybe you might feel depleted about what is available to you now, because this could be a prayer that you have sent out there, not knowing your own strength. And then these ingredients perhaps to you now feel irrelevant, or maybe just rations of what you had in mind. The thing here is basically to trust yourself and to trust life as to what comes your way and how you vibrate to the universe and what comes back around. There is an important also thing to mention. If you're really unhappy with what has happened, if you are really destroyed, if you're really scared or you feel really uncomfortable about who's come your way, what has come your way, what is knocking at your door, what is available to you now, if you're really uncomfortable and you're absolutely, like, say, in harm's way, or you feel like you fear that you could be in harm's way, maybe it is not for you. This is to be taken with a pinch of salt. Everything here is for you. Everything here is for you. And though you might not feel like entirely enticed, entirely, this or that, these are the things that you've got to work with. I'm not telling you here that you need to discern even. Just understand this is what you've called in. You've called this in. And those of us with Virgo aspects have to also understand and no longer speculate, and also weed out that character trait that makes you understand things are not good, and keep on evolving that idea that something is not right. It's like, I would rather speculate over this person for 3 or 4 months instead of meeting them in person. I'm not interested in this job. I would rather be negative about it than to see where it leads. You know, I would rather be negative about myself than to do something about myself. And that's where you are. So basically here you are tested, and you are tested with time, you're tested with money, you're tested with things, and you're tested in a sense with abundance, because these are abundant things. You're not duped, you're not tricked. This is an abundance cycle, and I'm not sure why some of us with Virgo aspects can't sometimes recognize abundance when it's here, and wake up later in life, 3 or 4, maybe even 20 years later, thinking I was in such a good shape, I had such a great experience, I was in such a nice relationship. And we can't tell it apart until sometimes we have contrast. So Virgos, please understand, you have to be grateful for this, and you have to start now working out as to why you've manifested all of these people, why you've manifested all these things, and how between them there is a common thread. So one of the greatest things you do is sequence. Yeah? So how you can tighten up the sequence on things and how you can put them into a nice kind of groove. And that becomes your adamant self. So this, in a sense, is a beginning of a structure of belief, and also belief in yourself, or believe in life, or whatever. You're creating through such portals when you don't know what to do, you don't believe anything, and you have too much contraction, and like an enveloping feeling, like you don't want to tell us what you're feeling or thinking. You're now basically at the test of time, and during this particular type of transit, you might not like what or who you meet, because you might be a little bit out of sorts. And the greatest thing that you perhaps don't know, or don't believe, or don't recognize, or don't understand is that you are wanted like this. There is a concept for you. There's a very special way in which you attract us like this, and you just have to be okay with you. So thank you very much, Virgo. Enjoy, and I hope that you can put your qualms to rest and just be happy as you are, and ask, why did I manifest this in my life? So thank you very much, Virgo. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi Libra, lucky Libra, lucky Libra. Fellow Libra, Polina here in Mexico, okay. So let's talk about you and the disassociation that sometimes happens when we're going through your 12th house. So we're in Virgo now, okay, September, 12th house. Okay, Libra, okay. Lucky last Libra, that's how it feels. This is now about feeling good about you, regardless of anything. Regardless. Yeah. Absolutely regardless of anything now. And I'm not telling you to be imposing on you, trying to la la la. No, just like regardless of anything. Yeah, regardless of anything. I think I did good last year. Yeah, that's right. Just, just whatever. Like, I think I've done pretty sweet. I think I've done very well for my age. I actually think that I'm doing really well as a person. I actually believe that I'm doing very well as a soul, thank you very much. I actually think that, yeah, and all of that stuff that you have on your mind that could be completely unattainable. You could have things in your mind that could be completely foolish. You could have things in your mind that could be even psychotic to a degree. Everything like crazy has to leave. Everything weird, everything windy, everything strange and stroppy, you just have to let it go. If you're not doing it or you haven't yet done it, then it shouldn't have been done. If you're not part of that or you're not part of this, then you shouldn't have been part of it. Okay? When the time comes, maybe you'll realize why it worked out this way. They didn't call. They didn't call. That's okay. What you had was always nice. Try to trust your feet. Basically, okay, 12th house. We are in your feet. So basically, these are your feet. Making sure that you don't feel stuck. Making sure that you don't feel egoic about things. Basically, smooth it out. Soften that line. Like that line between this and that. Like, I'll never go to her house. I don't trust that person. Or like, I'll never be this. No. Just basically make sure that you don't have any strong lines. I'm not telling you that you have to blur everything that you've done and kind of like put it all into just one kind of like stew of remembrance. I'm not telling you that you have to do this, but you just basically like, yeah, you fall in love all over again with yourself and with love itself, maybe with kindness, just with love. You just fall in love all over again with love. We have a Libra Venus coming up, you guys. Sensual. We have many things happening. We got Saturn going direct. We got many things happening that are going to just bring you that freshness and that delight. Basically, now it's about creating the opportunity and the wavelength to associate enough to the current now. If you don't feel associative, if you are disassociative, if you're crazy, if you're like going red, blushing, sweating, if you're crying, if all these physiological expressions of discontent, perhaps something is not right and something is not of love. By now, there has to be a nice dream, a nice quality of everything that you have. There should be a neat connection point to source. There's nothing that you have to outstandingly do. Okay, 12th house and Virgo, because Virgo is a contracted sign. It can be as plain as this. I wake up and I pray and I feel good. I go to the bathroom and I have a cup of coffee and that's my life. That's fine. You don't have to wear the gowns and pray to the stars. There's no huge expansion that you really need to reach here. And also you might not feel worthy all of a sudden. You'll be like, what? This is who I am? Because 12th house situation is usually at the roots of your being or at the roots of your beginning, or in the sense of the roots of your whole creation. So the world is kind of looking at you as well at the same time, and you can't quite withstand that fear perhaps, or that weird feeling of having that happen, doing things on purpose. Sometimes people will look for a result in you. They will look for the sign from you. They will look for something in you. And this is the ironic thing, is when Libra is completely not prepared, because you're the global second house right now. So it's you're not maybe prepared at all as to how things are going to work out. Maybe you're not completely prepared to go to the party. You're not And suddenly someone comes out like, yeah, we believe in you. We really want you to help. And you're like, I'm so sorry. Believe in me. What are you doing to me? Why are you here? So the thing here is that we're very contracted here, all of us. We're very, very stiff. Virgo sometimes does not have much room for imperfection. It doesn't have much room for adolescence. Yeah, it doesn't have much room for quality time. Things have to be done a certain way. But you Libra, have the time of your life if you want to. Even if it means just getting a massage. Even if it means taking some time off work. Even if you are just not welcome somewhere, or you shouldn't be. If you're not welcome somewhere, or you shouldn't be, or you just never have been, you finally realize it now. Or there are things that is not up to you. Maybe there's clothes that you have grown out of. Maybe there's debts that you just haven't paid and they just have let go, maybe. Or maybe you don't have anything anymore. Maybe somebody's left the nest. Something has left the coop. That's also likely. You might not want to, but maybe something is telling you to leave. And that's cute. Cute. Everything is very, very cute and cuddly in Virgo if you let it be. Okay? There is a cuteness to it. Understand, you are not meant for it if it can't be around. Like, recognize 12th house. This is your, in a sense, dream or nightmare, depending on how you turn. This is where you wave it all goodbye and you fall asleep and you have some beautiful food and music that you always loved. Bliss. And when you are here, you can also unconsciously generate more and more of the things that you like and give back also, maybe to your mother, to your father, to society, to your sister, to your brother, anybody who you have owed maybe for a long time. And disrespect also goes a long way if you don't like something, if you don't think so, if you're not sure. That also goes a very, very long way. And also I've talked about this during the full moon here as well at the end of August. New moon. Sometimes reputation precedes you, and the reason is times like this. This is where we've all kind of gotten reputation for something, and you have to recognize it. The thing here is like not to worry about it now. If there is a reputation issue, that's great. If you're really worried, write somebody a letter. Write someone a song. Just write them something for your own sake. But the purest, the perfectest energy is, yeah, I'm here now. I'm not radical. I'm not crazy. Like, I'm not out of sorts. I'm not a screwed up kind of like tight Libra. Never be a tight Libra. It's looseness itself, Libra. You know, it's loose. It's lofty. It's lavish. It's kind of sad and sometimes and very happy at others. You know, it's like there's like relaxation about it. And then all of those right people will start to come to you. Don't worry if you have loss. Don't worry. Just make sure that you replenish, that you take care of yourself, you take care of your health, and you don't wish for anything that you wouldn't like to keep. So thank you very much, Libra. Enjoy, and I hope that next month is going to really grace you the lot based on how well you establish yourself now. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Hi Scorpio, thank you very much for being here. Polina here, talking to you about your month of September. Okay, social activities and social residues. Okay, there are trust issues for some of us. Okay, and then there's like huge miracles also possible through like anybody and anything. Like you just end up there and they end up just knowing you, remembering you from another place and la la la, or a bit of both, you know. People feel maybe romantic or emotional about a Scorpio during a time like this. Maybe nothing quite works, nothing quite fits, nothing quite has the flavor but you. Nobody quite, you know, remembers, nobody quite really resounds except for people like you. So this is where you have to basically be on your best behavior, truly. And try not to rock the boat. I'm not telling you not to rock the boat at all, because, you know, what's a Scorpio without a bit of rock and roll? But the thing here is that you might not feel entirely clear as to how you are and what you feel and think. So here you might basically suggest to yourself that these people are not good people. You might also accidentally fall in love with one of your friends, for example. Or you could very easily be, like, for example, best friends with someone who is not actually trying to be friends with you, you know, and try not to connect. So basically here you might get like a lot of issues and a lot of misinformation as to what it all means. And I'm seeing you kind of like perhaps, you know, kissing butt somewhere where you don't have to, and maybe making a friend where you don't need to as well. So there are lots and lots of us Scorpios not really knowing, not really sure about the context of our time. Try to get it right. So basically here, I don't believe you don't have any friends at all, but you know, for the rare individual that doesn't have any friends, you know, what a beautiful time. Sort out your life, to spruce up, you know, maybe to think about your everyday, maybe to go to the gym, go to the park, everything that you like, you know, why not? You know, because Virgo during this month should be fun. Unfortunately, some of us Scorpios are already getting bitter before time, okay? Bitter before time, bitter before time. Not really realizing what other people are, not really realizing what they have in store, not really believing us or other people for what anything is, also becoming very scrupulous and scrutinizing for no good reason, and being scrutinizing of anything and anybody. That's where you are by far one of the weirdest people in the world, because some of the time, during a time like this, you have it all. Perhaps you have your family together. Perhaps by now you have like the best people in the world all crowded around you. Maybe by now you have the friend that is the friend for life. Maybe you have just enough situations to really keep you afloat in life. And then suddenly this is where Scorpio loses its mind. The best way forward, the best way for us all, I believe, is just to do not much, especially during times of extreme disorder and disorganization. It is very good to just drop it all and just take a breather. It's very good just to go to sleep extra early. It's also very nice not to participate and not to hope for anything to happen when it's just not time. The one thing that I'm sort of really worried about during this time for you guys is managing other people and trying to put them in line. Telling them what you think, you know, telling them who they are, and also pushing them backwards. The point here is to be friends, comrades, just equals. Just like, hey guy, hey. So what have you got going on? I got this, okay, I got this. Like comrades, it's like bartering systems are available now. It's really good for business management. It's really good for situations at home even. You know, it's really, really good for work. It's really, really good for managing your time correctly and knowing where everybody's going to chip in and everybody's going to put in the work. This is where you don't get hard done. This is where everybody's kind of like communicating with you. And by now, everyone should, by now, on some level, energetically understand we're all in this together. We're not like fooling each other around. By the time that September ends, you might, though, put yourself into a very weird perspective or circumstance if you just don't trust us now. If you don't trust us now, you don't trust anybody. Okay, October, your 12th house, you know, also, you know, September, October, your 12th house, will not bring the best to you for the rest of a long time. If you just don't trust anybody, if you do not trust, there needs to be room for greatness. There needs to be room for love. There needs to be room for all of these beautiful things. And if you're really like dying to get out and you don't think anything is worth it anymore, I would love you to stop and make sure that you know what you're doing and what is actually going on. I don't think that many people probably understand you if you don't understand yourself. So by August end, you might already be eligible if you don't know what you're feeling, if you don't know what you are understanding or asking for. There are going to be lots of people that are just not going to even fill in the gaps anymore. They're just going to be like, well, you said this, or you said that, of course. And those things have to be final. You know, like some of us Scorpios, you know, like we think other people can read our minds too, but they can't. And basically, by the end of September, you have to really learn about that fact that sometimes nobody can read you and nobody knows what's going on. And if you make things complicated or kind of like super phenomenal on one side and then like super aggressive on the other side, nothing happens but trauma. And the trauma is real. So by the end of August, you might already see if you ever traumatize yourself, even though you might be thinking you're traumatizing another person, because it kind of works both ways. that's it, that's it. And some of these cuts, some of these slices are very deep. And I suggest don't work too hard. If you have a lot on your plate and you're sacrificing your social life or your community, don't, right now, don't, okay? Sacrifice of your community, of your culture, like sacrificing of you, sacrificing of your relationships or anything you have, I feel right now is very dark. There are some times, some places in the world, maybe perhaps, it's important. I don't know. There is like perhaps a very unique situation where indeed it's time to slice and dice. I don't think so at the same time. I believe that many of us with Scorpio aspects perhaps feel very heightened and extreme about certain behaviors of others, certain outcomes that we have in our worlds, even as people, as individuals, as complete adults. And then these types of situations just have to roll. You just basically help it roll. Help it roll. If you've got a friend that you don't understand, if you have a person or a partner or a situation you don't recognize, let it roll. Let it roll. Just, okay, cool, this person came over, they didn't come over, they didn't come, oh, okay, oh, bye, okay, like something happened, this didn't happen, okay, cool, nobody wants to participate, okay, fine. That person yelled at me. Okay, if you have people screaming at you, okay, that's another thing. If you have people yelling at you, if you have people being disgruntled with you, if you have fear of that as well, you should be the force that changes it by now. So this is not about being weak. Maybe perhaps some of you guys, depending on your age, and demographic, maybe you are, but like maybe there's need to resolve these things in a different way, especially if it is an ongoing situation. Please try to seek help. If you are lucky, you might find someone that will do it for you, that will help you. But I suggest starting to really bring yourself out of the woodwork and becoming that force and that face that can say no when it's time and can say yes when it's time too. Underneath everything, I believe there are really, really significant changes happening. You might not see it, you might not know it, but underneath everything that you have going on, even though it might feel like, oh yeah, just a bunch of friends, or yeah, just my, like, the person I'm dating at the moment, underneath, a very significant change is taking place. So please make sure, Scorpio, that you're not alone and you're not taking yourself completely out of a picture, even though right now you might think you can or you've got to, and making sure that you keep friends that you know that you need, and that you are not obstructing other people also from their purpose and from the truth of their time. Thank you very much, Scorpio. Enjoy and evolve. Bye. Hi, Sag. Thank you very much for being here. Polina here. Very, 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 very involved. Okay, so Sagittarius, you don't really have to worry. This is basically where you see the results for what they are. It's very easy, cause and effect. Okay, you wanted to walk into that door. That door is open. Nice. You are now ready. You tried the other door. Okay, it's locked, or you're getting a bad effect. Cause and effect, okay? That means you just have to sort out some of your old stuff. You've got some old stuff happening. You have to sort it out. You have some unfinished business for somebody else will come out and let you know about it. You have some uncomfortable situation. There is something to be done. If you don't evolve your past or parts of your past, maybe the present will not come out as good as it could. There are lots of people cheering for you. There are lots of people coming up to you. Maybe there's lots of people wanting you to participate or wanting you to belong. Unfortunately, sometimes what you may do is you may take your time elsewhere, or you might not be able to participate just yet, can't afford it, like can't be part of it yet, or just can't be that person. That's not real. I believe that you can be that person, you can participate, you can fully be involved. You just have to basically recognize that if you don't think or don't trust or can't believe it's not happening yet or it's not possible, it's not because of them or of you, really. It's just, you just got some loose ends here, and perhaps with the past you have to call it quits. So for example, you're still calling your ex, and you're trying to form a new relationship and it's kind of not coming together, or they just like seem to be torn apart from you. Maybe it's time to stop calling your ex. Maybe it's time to just put a boundary there. For example, the new job is not working out. You can't seem to walk into it. You can't find the momentum. Maybe you have a few things that you would rather do. Maybe you have to do a few of those things and understand and really clean up your mess before walking into the new light. You can now face like a curious relationship. You can really now face a very different path. You can now face a very, very interesting outcome. You can really now like come into your own, like your whole self, and you can really fill out and fulfill who you are. The point here is not to be afraid, to also be uncomfortable about the next step. And some of us with Sagittarian aspects will even take ourselves backwards not to walk into the next step. And that's also great, but you have to also understand where you're hiding and why. The person that you need perhaps is right there, okay? The human, or like the friend is right here. There's probably going to be lots of things that you can have that are very balanced now and that are very caring for you and they're very right for who you are. And there's going to be many, many, many things that perhaps aren't quite real. The point here is just to be able to fulfill those larger or just more beautiful frontiers and not to have to waste your time with the details. So here is that person, okay? And you're sort of thinking about the details. Sort it out as fast as you can so you can be present and open to that relationship or situation. Here's a job, okay? That's the job. And you're kind of fluffing with the details. Make sure that you're not fluffing with the details simply out of courtesy to yourself, other people's time, okay? And other people's kindness as well and curiosity about you, and making sure that you don't fluff yourself around based on what you think you should be doing instead of just doing what you do. This is also where the mind goes a bit crazy. We have Mercury walking into incredible alignment here in Virgo with other communicative planets, This is where you really lose your mind. You might go too fast, too strong, into what, into where. Also make sure you're not burning out. And make sure that you're not cutting yourself short by burning yourself to a tiny little fuse. There is a point to all of this. And yes, sometimes you can't yet. And yet, when, if not now? When, if not now? There are times when I'm just like, just wait it out. When, if not now? Unfortunately, some Sagittarians really wriggled and giggled and caused a storm or caused some kind of disadvantage to themselves in the last year, I would even say. Having itchy feet, being unsure, being paranoid, being unsatisfied, and to some degree rocking the boat. And by now, you'll see why it was so important to hold yourself together and to have self-respect and humility for all people. Because now it's fast. Now the momentum is good. Now you are fully enabled and equipped to really do the thing. Now we have the quickening. Now we have the fast paced. Now we have the works. Now we have the deluge, almost now we have the floodgates. Now that we have the waters, it's like zzz, it's really quick now. You have what you need. You have the next few dimensions open for you, and not just for now, maybe for many, many years to come. But how do you do it? Do you think that, you can't? Are you not yet emotional or physically stable enough to do it? And this is where you had to prepare. And the last few months, I've been telling you guys, hold your horses, don't rush, don't run into anything. Make sure you're not rocking the boat. Because times like this where you really got to get up and go, and you got to really evolve, and you got to really go super quick, or you got to really catch all the rabbits or catch all the opportunities. And if you can't, will you be happy with the outcome? If you're saying now, it's like, I'm just going to backbench it. Just don't worry about it. Let someone else do it. Right now I can't do it. I will do it next year. There are sometimes years like that, and sometimes you will be found again, but sometimes not. So make sure that you are quick, that you make it through, and make sure that you're not encumbered. And imagine you're like a light car or airplane. You have to be unencumbered and make sure that you're not carrying too much on your person, that you have not too many errands to do, not too many things to think about, just not too many worries. So just to make sure that you can catch the plane. Thank you very much, Sag. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi Capricorn, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here talking to you about the month of September. Okay, so September ends things that you shouldn't have and perhaps starts things over that should have been. Some of you guys can really start again, and I salute you if you have. If you haven't yet really understood what that means, I trust you probably know, but you can't really put yourself to that, which is great as well. So basically here you have to end quite many few things and just basically create a nice streamlined chronolinear perspective as to what you're going to try and do for the next while. I mean, this is where you don't need to do many things, just do that one thing. This is not where you're trying to create harmony and peace between many people. You just choose that one energy, you just use that one drone. It's like one drone note, one idea, one dimension. And this is also how come you perhaps don't really see you and other people otherwise as equals, or you don't understand, is because this is where disrespect of your time and the disrespect of your own like property or your own energy really goes badly and hand with negativity. So this is where there's usually like many different people, many different times, many different even energetic signatures that are kind of working towards who you are. And they're usually going to be people dotted all over the place that kind of like can't quite tell who you are, can't quite see you, but they have something for you that is very integral to you. And this is how come, because we are basically trying to see you here through and make sure that you don't fool yourself with projects and work especially and tasks that are just not interesting and they end up egoic. Unfortunately, some of you guys might want to lift another person up. Here's where you might want to build a castle. You know, this is where you might want to create a huge, ginormous change for another person's life, or you might have a die-hard will to change someone else's life. I suggest you choose a more traditional or more like, how can I say, simple approach to anything. If you have suddenly like vendetta, or you want to be like Mother Teresa or Gandhi, and you want to fully take on the world and show everybody how well you can do as a humanitarian leader, humanitarian guide, I suggest you don't try. I think that this is basically the time where you try to brush out the extra work and you pull in what just fully recognizes and understands. I don't think you yet trust. That's the thing also, Saturn people, you know, Saturn stuff, there are going to be things that you just don't want to or just can't be like, even though they're exactly right for you. And this is where basically Saturn really rocks the boat, truly, you know, Capricorn people. So me, Saturn, the first house, funny that. So basically, when you have lack of trust or like this issue with anything phenomenal, anything that perhaps is staring right at you, as anybody who's like too available, you try and purge the real for a true purpose, which might be too grand to establish or just like too large to manage. I suggest you don't do anything huge, and especially that you don't try to make another person feel small because of how big you believe your brand is or how big you believe you are. The point here is not to have your worth scrutinized and checked and prodded and tested by time. It's actually not about like say launching $1 million project right now at all or building that $1 million house. I don't think that you need to like say involve us in a ginormous or like a big for nothing gain. The purity is lost, okay? So we are in the contracted sign of Virgo. The purity and the picture of reality is lost if you have these die-hard ideas for nothing now. The point here is like not to place yourself or anything else into a loop as well. So like you can really plug a person in here. You can make somebody work for you. You can be like, hey buddy, you want to work for me? There is nobody that wants to work. Nobody wants to work. This whole entire planet is filled to the brim with human beings that don't want to work. You don't have to create jobs. You don't have to make a source idea that perhaps will not do you well. Basically just because you may need to steer yourself unconsciously away from the pride and the truth that you feel inside already and trying to create something or connect to something or somebody that's beyond your means. What is within your means, Capricorn, and what is not? Living outside of your means, buying clothes beyond your means, taking time with people that are energetically vampiric beyond your means, being in a situation beyond your means, spending your income, your time, your energy, your force, your health, your lifestyle, just everything beyond your means. There is a simple conclusion. When you don't feel quite developed and you don't feel like the world answers you yet, some of you guys might try and climb way too fast and way too far for God knows what. And the reasons are very silly. Because they didn't look at me the way that I wanted them to look at me, you know, because they didn't understand my paperwork, they didn't understand my craft, I got criticized at work. Or like my wife doesn't understand me, of course, you know, like, or these people didn't understand what I was trying to tell them. There is an issue of relevance. Perhaps an irrelevant energy is trying to push you towards greater relevance. That's also true and very likely. So a very irrelevant or like insignificant friend can become your world. And also you could be pushed towards irrelevant businesses, irrelevant time spending and all the like, because you are but a flake to your heart. If you haven't yet developed your heart fully and you're still taking things too privately and personally, you're possessed by ideas and you let some tiny person sway your path, or you're making a mistake of making your energy dream too huge at a very contracted time, you have to start again. Or perhaps you have to fall away from that or these people or whatever collective, whatever belief system, whatever you have that is swaying you towards maximality in the most minimal time. So we have a minimizing energy. We have a small contracted energy. We also kind of have a small contracted mind with Mercury going here through Virgo. The smallness there, and it's fine. Sugar-coated is great. Simplified is fine. And you have to basically possess yourself in such a way, in a sense, to make sure that you're not like a diamond in a rough always, you know, and to make sure that you're not always trying to speak of other people as if they're like contractors to you or job givers, people that work for your art, or just people that just, in a sense, make you feel worthy out of their impurity or the impure situation that you have between you two. So you just employ them, you know, or they just employ you. There's got to be a camaraderie and like a star, like a galactic like star feeling here between you. And I also feel that if you are not quite yet understanding as to like where your life is going and you are trying to push further towards a greater income or greater outcome, I think that there is something not worthy feeling within you. And that feels to me like it needs perhaps a therapist or a doctor or just a good friend who can give you a hug and talk it out with you. And there is no need to fight it, because if you cannot allow yourself to be small and meek during Virgo, when are you going to be? So thank you very much, Capricorn. Enjoy, and I hope that you have a beautiful, pure, and very enriching time. Bye. Hi Aquarius, thank you very much for joining me. Polina here, okay? The underdog, you know, the odd one out, okay? Has to stop. This has to stop, you guys. So what I mean here is the achievement spectrum based on how much I can take and how much I can do for another for nothing. You don't have to do anything. Basically, Aquarius, I trust that some of us are in a little bit of danger. It's not just danger, it's kind of like a dubious activity if you can't really leave it alone. So what I mean is, for example, situation where you're the father to a child, you know, all the time, or mother to a child, you're constantly trying to supply another person with something they perhaps don't even appreciate or need. Perhaps it's very easy here to give your last shirt to a person that, you know, doesn't even need it. Perhaps it is very easy here to sponsor somebody who doesn't even want to be sponsored by you. It's very easy to home a person who's a predatorial during this time. It's also very, very easy, very cheap, very easy, very, very, very easy actually, to give to yourself not the best and to give the best to someone else. And it's also very easy to give away your dreams. Now, why you don't sleep very well or why you don't feel very good very often, also with this activity in Capricorn in your 12th house, is perhaps why you would do something like that. So because you don't feel sound, maybe, is why you want to give away everything you have to charity, or why you want to like waste your time or spend your time unwisely. I suggest don't go into servitude, and I've talked about this for a while. Servitude is the lowest form of Virgo. So being a service person, being in service to another person, being a helping hand all the time, and kind of trying to sort of smolder yourself with this idea that this is for a greater spiritual, emotional, or public cause. You don't need to do this anymore. You don't need us now as well. I think that you are not just requited and clear. I think there is something beyond this. I think there's something beyond the ordinary about Aquarius right now. And I think you guys are like true in such a way that perhaps deliberately separates you from the rest. And when you get the crown, it's over, it's done. So what I mean, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for nothing. Okay, so like what I mean is when you get the crown, so when you get like the full connection, you know, when you have it, and when you have your full heart, and when you have your full establishment, or you kind of understanding like how big these shoes are that you're filling out, or like how large is your soul, that's where you guys can go kind of like, why? Shame, and also slightly predatorial instincts. So here's where you might want someone else to be the king, not you. This is where you might want someone else to wear the hat, not you. This is where you don't want anybody to know like how far you can go, and also how dark also and light it is for you to know everything maybe sometimes, and to be totally on top of things and a little bit too vast for your own liking. When this happens, sometimes you feel overqualified or disqualified or not qualified, and then these ideas of value and worth, value and worth can be jumping up and down like all over the place. So here what I mean is like, for example, how you are working with another person's thoughts and feelings, what you're giving away, and how you are in the role that you're in can be very dubious and very also untrue and unlucky for you guys later on in life. So here's where an Aquarian entrepreneur still pushing a mop around, you know, this is where like a genius psychic, you know, still works at a lottery store. This is where a fantastic presence, a fantastic human is still trying to work too hard to really express themselves or have any kind of avenues to do so. So here's where you lock yourself in. I don't trust that if you find something to lock yourself behind is going to last or turn well. If you're suddenly, for example, adopting somebody, especially if you're trying to take on somebody else's issues, if you're making somebody else the king or the queen of your world, this is not going to likely tell you anything. It's not going to likely give to you anything well. It's going to just most likely make you feel mingled and kind of in between too many worlds and too many things. I don't think that you have enough in you. And that sometimes needs to be resolved, discovered in very, very simple ways. Just sitting there and trusting yourself, trusting your heart. I'm all right. I'm all right. This is okay. You know, yeah, like I discovered an amazing, massive gift recently. That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. You can also give your gifts away here for nothing. And you can also be way ahead of time with certain things on some scale. And you might not want to be even more evolved than you are. Yeah, okay, right. You know, I discovered I could do this as well. Like I just discovered I had this amazing healing touch. That's for me. Well, like I just discovered that I have this incredible capacity to do this, or this amazing capacity to do that. And that's where you get kind of like run down. And you might have a lot of thoughts and messages, and this can create like an emotional turmoil. And then that can lead to your bed. You might just sleep it off and not want to get up. I congratulate you if you're there. But if you aren't and you're still trying, you know, who's there? Can I help you? You know, can I volunteer at the animal shelter again? It's like they don't even call you back anymore, but you're like, I'll turn up, I'll be there. I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm not saying this is already part of your past, but there is aspects to it. I feel that servitude and being kind of like uncomfortable, especially if you get to like say wear uncomfortable shoes, you know, like work long hours, you know, give away and kind of know that you're giving away. That sort of starts to become a very uncomfortable, curious culture for everybody. So if you champion, say for example, an eating disorder, you're championing, you're making it the thing for everybody. You know, if you now like, for example, stand by a certain lifestyle, for example, you have a friend who's got predatorial instincts and you say, you know, that's fine, that's great, you know, whatever, you know, I still trust this person. You're going to raise that as the quantum for everybody. If you have people around you, if you have predators in your field, or if you're just like not good for yourself, if you're giving yourself away, especially if you're damaging your own reputation, you're damaging your own life, you're damaging your own lifestyle, you're damaging you're just making it for everybody the same. So basically you are like qualifying it as the best type of time to spend. And unfortunately we're imprinting it. so much here. Like the time that we have here really is imprinting in Virgo. As we are now in Virgo already, it's really imprinting. I'm feeling it. And then that becomes the norm. And if you have that type of norm, where are you going to be? Like here now, where are you here now? So Aquarius, please make sure that you don't overcompensate for things that you don't even perhaps need to ever do. You know, you never needed to, you know, do the things that you're perhaps now overcompensating for. So basically, Aquarius, try to be young and free and don't get caught. Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Pisces, okay, so time is very quantum time this time. It's like in a split second, okay? It's either here or it's not. It's in or it's out, okay? So basically, we have to have you at hello. We have to have things happen quick. It's this or that. It's da-da-da-da-da. It's like this or it's not. It's gonna happen, it's not. And you just have to basically make it okay that some of the time you don't think it possible, you don't think it'll happen, but it will. And there's lots of us with Pisces aspects and stuff that are just still not quite ready yet to just fly and embed what's needing to embed. It's here, catch it, okay? Haven't caught it? Maybe it's not yours. There's many reasons why there are fast turnarounds during this time, and not many of us with Piscean aspects understand that it's either right this precious moment or it's never gonna be. It's either you are in this or you're going to go elsewhere, and it's either going to be the start of something great or it's never gonna happen. And there's certainties here that are very big. And there's timelines for you guys and for other people involved with your experiences that are huge. They're deal breakers. And some of these are golden. And some of these are also like grotesque as to like how large they can go. And I'm not telling you guys to like stop, you know, I'm not telling you guys to like do something totally different. I'm just telling you, can you be like a little bit more yourself, you know? And can you perhaps also be pleased with where you are and where you've been and open enough for these things to happen? Be open for these things to happen, you know? Like, unfortunately, sometimes for you guys, it's almost like it's not ever good enough, you know? And Virgo and Taurus to a degree have the same problem. It's like, it's never quite right. It's never quite good enough. There's something not quite there. It's not quite fixed, or it's not unbroken. And there's also like a lot of you guys that I'm feeling that are not right for where you are, but you're fighting so hard to be there now. And the worst part of this all is that you're working against the current if you're not ready, if you're not real. So this is where, like, for example, Virgo has a very cunning and strange way with you guys. And this is not a bad thing as well. It's just learning, you know, when you haven't been available and you have never thought it was for you, and now is the time to boogie. This is the time to do this. And you have this capacity, you have the space, you always have enough of what you need to get it done. And thus you are now chosen, but how you feel about it determines it. How you feel about it. You know, that person that comes your way feels uncomfortable if you don't feel comfortable about them. You know, that situation that you're in, you know, feels uncomfortable for everybody involved if you're not quite sure. And then all those people that you have come in or leave, everything that you have like walking around you in kind of parting ways, as nothing maybe special, you know, but the special things, the special ones, or the special feeling that you are actually like living for to a degree, or are trying to achieve, is just on the surface. It's just on the surface, and it's nice and it's easy, and it's starting to come through, it's starting to come back. There's something that is also even returning to you that's much better than it ever was. And that is where we always thought you just catch it and have it. You know, we thought that you just, but you don't. And the question is why you do anything that you do. You might be too proud to walk through that door again. You know, you might be feeling like it's an echo of the past, whatever this person is. You know, you might not trust anything here. And you might not even trust you to ever have manifested that in the past or in the present. You might actually not even want it. And this is how come it's so frustrating sometimes to be you, Pisces, is because you've been praying and praying and praying and asking, and the door has finally just opened up completely. And it's like cats and doors. You know, cats and doors? You know, open a door for a cat, it looks at it, it's been meowing all day. Oh, you're like, come on. You know, cat doesn't care. Cat goes outside, wants inside again. And this is where we are. Basically, this is how we are going right now. And the thing here is basically just to do as little as possible sometimes, just to get yourself connected. And just to get yourself together enough to feel what is going on. And it might be as simple as you not wanting to enjoy. Or you feeling crumbly or shameful, you know, about one of the greatest things it could now be. And also perhaps there's other things involved as well. You want somebody else to have that, or you don't trust you yet to be fully embodied or to be fully able or capable to carry something. And that's where we have you also tested, where you have been before, like where you've come from, like how you have done what you've done and where you have placed yourself in the past or in the back of your head, has to just now bring you joy and luck. Have you got enough joy and luck in your world? Or do you feel separate from that which is you? There are people that are you. There are things that are for you. There are beings that are waiting for you. There are situations that are open to you. Like there is security, there is connection, there is feeling, there is tenderness, and there is sensitivity that was kind of developed on the level to fulfill you. And then we are not knowing as to what to manifest around you sometimes, because you're like the keeper of many, many dreams, you know, and many things beyond that as well. We don't know how to manifest our lives around you, because by looking at you, we're not sure what you need, as anything is nothing and nothing is anything. And that has to end. So basically, Pisces, I hope that you can feel that sparkle when it happens. And I hope that you know now what that true love feeling is, you know, and what the true feeling of bliss is, and what the truth that you're carrying inside of you is becoming, or starting to become, or reform as. So bit of trial and error sometimes with these things. Maybe sometimes you get what you want and sometimes you can't. Sometimes you might not want to get it all and you wait for another day to harvest it, and that never comes, never happens. But these things will not return as well. Some of these things will not return. Some of these humans will not come back. And also some of these ideas will never be able to be fulfilled later on in life. So these are important choices, and I hope that you can make them. And some of these are very unbelievable. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I hope that you can really fully sink your teeth into the fruit that is now being given. So thank you. Bye.